Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. Here we have it, Monday morning. We were widely expecting January to be a massive month, massive quarter, and massive year for the miners, and they are not disappointing. Bitcoin has now surpassed 101,000 US dollars. Once again, the miners are following suit. Not to mention, we've got some big production updates and news to cover in today's podcast. Before we get into all that, please take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel, specifically in getting this content to other people interested in Bitcoin miners who may find value. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below. What do you think of these December production results so far? How are you feeling about the mining sector overall and your outlook for 2025? Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right, Monday morning. Now the main event today is obviously our big interview with Adam Sullivan coming up in just a few hours time. But Anthony, there's so much activity in the Bitcoin mining sector this morning. We've got a number of production updates. We've got some news out. We've got some political updates here in Canada. So we wanted to jump on, give you guys a quick mid-morning market update and go over some of the high-level news before we get into today's interview. Anthony, Bitcoin surging up over 101,000 US this morning. We were hopeful it would do it last night. Generally, we get a sell-off on Monday morning as the US market comes online, but boy, was this week a nice surprise to the upside.
Yeah, it's been a nice rise since the end of December, where it finished at 93,300, if my memory serves right. So yeah, great rise today. But we've been anticipating this. We're coming up to an inauguration of the president. He's very pro-Bitcoin. His staff appear to be pro-Bitcoin. His nominations for the key posts also appear to be pro-Bitcoin. So it's a very positive story, and we've highlighted this on a number of podcasts now. So this was expected, and I think it will continue over the next couple of weeks, certainly.
Yeah, most definitely. We are both betting that there will be a continued rally in both Bitcoin and miners right up until that January 20th inauguration of Donald Trump, as you mentioned. Now, looking across the board at the miners, pretty much a sea of green, Anthony. Not as big of returns as we saw on Friday, which was a monstrous session. The only one I see in the red right now, interestingly enough, is Bitdeer, which I think for the last 2 or 3 weeks has generally been leading the group. So anything standing out here, Anthony? Only a few hours into the day?
No, not really. It's too soon to say. But you're right. You know, the majority of miners are in the green. Got to remember, Bitdeer's stock performance over the last couple of months has been second to none. So maybe a little bit of profit taking there. Still got a market capitalization of over 4 billion. And I think if you'd have said 6 months ago that Bitdeer was going to have that sort of market capitalization, I think they'd snap your hand off. But as of Friday, I don't know if it's the same. I think Riot and maybe CORZ Scientific have just overtaken today. But as of Friday, they were the second largest mining company in North America. So just a little bit of profit taking. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. I like what they're doing in terms of their growth. And also the fact they're going to build their own miners and they're going to sell miners. So it's all very positive for Bitdeer. But the miners themselves, I would have expected maybe a little bit more green than we're seeing at the moment, but it's still early times in the market, and we had a bit of volatility this morning. But Bitcoin price, as you rightly say, flying up towards 102,000. So very positive for that today.
Yeah, it certainly is. It'll be interesting to see how the miners, generally, I find they kind of lag the big Bitcoin moves, need to see if it's legit or not before they'll start moving. Now, you bring up Core Scientific, Bitdeer, obviously some of the top performers in 2024. We're kicking off 2025 with an action-packed week. So I just mentioned Adam Sullivan will be on in a couple hours' time. Tomorrow, we've got DMG. Wednesday, a double header, Anthony. We've got Bitdeer and Bit Digital, which we've got some news out on BTBT today as well. And then Thursday is Hut 8, which is going to be a phenomenal interview as they're gearing up for their HPC expansion. It sounds like in the neighborhood of 430 megawatts. So a very exciting week ahead. Now, one other topical piece here before we get into the production updates, Anthony. Canadian politics. So we've been talking about Trump and obviously the US politics, the US election quite a bit. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has been struggling over the last couple of years, not getting the best approval ratings, not only on the Bitcoin front, but on a number of fronts here in Canada, specifically in Western Canada. It sounds like enough is enough. He's finally ready to give his resignation, which I'm very happy about, being based in Alberta here, which is an oil and gas hub. And it looks like Pierre Poilievre, who's the front runner of the Conservatives, does have a fairly positive Bitcoin stance. He's already a holder of Bitcoin. He's used it to purchase products multiple times as press releases or news statements. And he's come out with a number of quotes stating that Canada, along with the rest of the world, really needs to get back to a sound money. So development's still happening there, Anthony. We're watching it closely, but this could be yet again another huge catalyst for these Canadian-based miners, many of which we cover on the channel. Hive, DMG, obviously, SATO, Bitfarms was Canadian. They've re-domiciled to the States. So a lot of activity, a lot of countries around the world really looking at Bitcoin in a favorable light.
Yeah, absolutely. And he should have maybe took a page out of Donald Trump's playbook and maybe supported Bitcoin a little bit more, because that was certainly a factor in Trump getting over the line, I would imagine, with 40 to 50 million Americans holding some sort of cryptocurrency at the moment. So, yeah, interesting times and interesting politics at the moment not across the globe, not just in Canada and the US.
Yeah, we won't even get on to the Elon UK tweets in this episode, but a lot going on here. And a great point you bring up, Anthony. Many politicians, career politicians, Bitcoin is marking the end of their career. So for any politicians watching, if you don't hold Bitcoin, you may want to get a bit just in case it catches on, or you want to stay in office, it looks like, in the G7 countries. Now, we've mentioned a number of times the benefits of HUD 8 redomiciling into the US in 2024. We've looked at that extensively on the channel. Now, the evolving political landscape in Canada may have an impact on this, but many companies are now looking to the United States as a place to operate and headquarter their companies. Bit Digital, Sam Tabar, he's on the program Wednesday. He was hinting at this prior to the Christmas break, but they've now come out and legitimized that statement.
Yeah, no, it's a good update. We were expecting some sort of an update during 2025, maybe not as quick as we heard, because we interviewed Sam before Christmas, and he was saying the company's keen to relocate, as are a number of other companies as well. So the likes of Bitdeer, some of the Canadian miners are also thinking about it. Hive Digital certainly want to relocate and have that done in the early part of Q1. So this was good positive news today. We've seen what's happened to the HUT share price since they relocated and have their office now based in Miami. Their share price has been on a real tear this year. I'm not saying it's down to that, but it does help. And it helps even more as the share price increases, the market capitalization increases, they go on to better indexes, and therefore they are attracting more capital from these new indices where you have to buy the stock as a basket of stocks. So, we're seeing MicroStrategy in the QQQ index at the moment, having just arrived there, and they'll have to be purchased now by funds that want that index because they're part of the fund, and this will happen all the way down. It trickles all the way down to other indexes there, so it's a very positive news. Sam, wants to get Bit Digital that sort of the spotlight on them for what they're doing. He doesn't feel that they're getting the benefit of what they're doing in the HPC world at the moment. Maybe this is the start of that now.
Yeah, it sure is. And we're looking very forward to that interview. A very timely week to have all these CEOs on the channel. So it will be interesting to get a full update there, but a step in the right direction. Now, the next segment here moves into December production results. So we're starting to get more of these out this week. We should get the bulk of the miners reporting this week. Some big hitters here today, Anthony. CleanSpark coming out with nearly 670 Bitcoin, a phenomenal month. And looking over the numbers, the thing that really stands out for me, 39.1 total exahash, but their operational exahash, Anthony, is within just a couple of that total installed or plugged in number.
Yeah, no, good solid update today. They announced they achieved 37 exahash at the end of November, well in time for the end of the year, which was their target, and now achieving this 39.1 operational hash rate for the month. So this is where you're installing new machines, but you're not getting the full month operation. So their operational hash rate average for the month was 35.52, which is still it's a great total to have. Only Marathon can boast a bigger hash rate than that at the moment. In terms of power as well, they've increased their megawatts now with all these additional sites that they're bringing online. 853 megawatts of operational power. And they've reduced their efficiency. So they've seen their efficiency come down considerably over the last few months, now down at 17.59 joules a terahash, and only IREN can show a better efficiency than from a terms of a fleet, and they're at 15 at the moment. In terms of Bitcoin sold, they've sold 12.65 Bitcoin this month. So normally it's around about 2.5 Bitcoin, but they've sold extra Bitcoin, and they averaged about $101,000 for that Bitcoin. The thing that stands out for me, I mean, I know the hash rate stands out there, but the HODL now is getting very, very close to 10,000 Bitcoin. And in fact, if you were sort of gambling, they've already achieved 10,000 Bitcoin because they'll have achieved in the first 5 days of full day mining. If they're averaging 21.5 Bitcoin a day in December, that number's going to be slightly higher because they've got more hash rate on now than they had at the beginning of December. So I think they've gone past the 10,000. I'm surprised they've not sort of timed this operational update with a sort of like we've got 10,000. But if you think about the list of public companies that hold Bitcoin, there's only now 3 companies ahead of them. They've overtaken a couple of companies in the last month. They've overtaken Tesla's one, and I think Coinbase is the other one. But you're looking at the likes now of MicroStrategy, Marathon Digital, and Riot Platforms are the only companies that hold more Bitcoin on the balance sheet than CleanSpark. If you think about the HODL, so the HODL, getting close to 10,000, it doesn't take a rocket scientist with today's price of over 101,000. This valuation's as at the 31st of December, and therefore, it's $929 million. So that's a significant treasury position to be in there. They've also recently been successful with a convertible note, 650 million, of which 400 million of that is going to be utilized to help them grow to over 50 exahash. So that funding to 50 exahash is already done and dusted now. And if they're growing at this rate here, they're going to get to 50 exahash probably well before the half year point, which is their expectation. It looks like they're going to achieve things a bit quicker this year. If you look at their growth there, they've got a lot of sites coming online in the next few months, which will bring on an additional 5 exahash. Yeah, no, an overall very, very strong update from CleanSpark. Had a strong year in terms of performance. Maybe not so in terms of share price. We saw the share price, close to $25 back in March. Today, it's probably hanging around the $10 mark. So, a significant reduction on that there. They have diluted a lot of shares this year. That will take part of it, but also the sentiment in terms of mining stocks compared to other proxy investment for Bitcoin maybe have also had an impact on CleanSpark. But operationally, can't really fault them. They do exactly what they say on the tin. They deliver every month.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Yeah, full steam ahead for CleanSpark. A great update. I was thinking about the MicroStrategy HODL over the weekend, Anthony. You bring up the CleanSpark HODL getting close to 10,000. The MNAV, or the premium that's assigned to those Bitcoin. And I was thinking to myself, now that they're getting up into the hundreds of thousands of coins, they really has to be a premium on that, because if you were to go out to the market and even attempt to buy that many coins, 0.5%, 1% of total supply, just the action of doing that is going to push the price of Bitcoin up considerably to offset that premium. So that was another angle. And some of these miners we've talked about not really getting that same premium on these HODLs. We think that's a big catalyst that's going to come in heavy here in Q1, especially, Anthony, as they hit those milestones like 10, 15, 20, 40,000 in the case of Marathon. Now, the next one up, Core Scientific. We won't spend a lot of time on this, you guys. We've got Adam on for an hour. I think we have 30 questions on our list from subscribers. But again, one thing to note here, Core, we talk about HPC, we talk about CoreWeave consistently on the channel, the deal of the century. Yes, they've got all that, but they're also a very, very consistent, strong Bitcoin miner.
They are a strong Bitcoin miner, and if we look at Bitcoin mining from existence in terms of public mining companies, no company has mined more than Core Scientific, well over 30,000 Bitcoin since they started. And actually, interesting, CleanSpark have just gone past 20,000. They've done it in 4 years, which again is a remarkable thing to do. But yeah, Core Scientific for 3 of the last 4 years were the top producer of Bitcoin. Last year, Marathon overtook them for the first time. So, in terms of their business now, it looks like they're dedicating a lot of their megawatts towards the HPC business. In fact, if you look at their total megawatts available, I think it's somewhere around about 1.3 thousand megawatts, 1.3 gigawatts of power. 400 of that is assigned to self-mining and hosting, and 900 megawatts is assigned to HPC. And if you think about the deal with CoreWeave, that's 500 megawatts plus I think another 130 megawatts of ancillary power on top of that. That takes you probably close to maybe 650. That means they've still got another 250, 270 megawatts available. And I know I think they wanted to allocate around about 120, 130 megawatts to, a second client. If not, CoreWeave were going to expand further. But yeah, it's all looking extremely, extremely positive for them. We'll get more updates from Adam. But in terms of the Bitcoin, on their December update, they mined 291 Bitcoin. Again, it's maybe not as efficient as some of the miners there, but they are curtailing considerably and giving back power to the domestic grid to help them. They are based all over the US. They've got something like 11, 12 different sites. So this is not a mine that's operating on one site. This is miners that have to operate across the board. December, we're seeing temperatures now where they're dropping now, and it's going to impact, mining companies with the domestic supply required. In terms of selling, this is interesting now. They sold 79 Bitcoin. Now, this 79 is not just the actual self-mining Bitcoin. They also get paid in Bitcoin for hosting. And so the one piece of the jigsaw that we don't have from Core Scientific is how much they're hodling. But it looks quite clearly from a number of recent updates that they are starting to hodl. I think I saw one with over 250 Bitcoin held in treasury, and that'll be expanding. Maybe we can ask Adam today to talk us through that in a little bit more detail, and maybe get the company to start putting it in their monthly updates, as do literally all the other miners. And we know they've got a hodl, we just don't know the exact number there, but we think it's around about 250 to 300 Bitcoin at the moment. In terms of power operational at the moment, 832 megawatts of power operational. Fleet efficiency, 24.6. It's good fleet efficiency, but we've seen miners now get well under 20 joules a terahash. So we know that Core Scientific are bringing in 15 exahash of block machines. And again, this is a question for Adam later. So, we'll hear from him when them are due to come in. What will happen to that efficiency, fleet efficiency, once those are installed? They have 164,000 miners at the moment dedicated to self-mining, so it is a big fleet out there. And in terms of Bitcoin mined per exahash, 15.2. So I think Bitfarms at the moment, they're at 19 per exahash. So that's leading the way. And we've still got a few more updates to come out this week from the likes of IREN, Hive, and DMG, and a few other big miners as well. So at the moment, Bitfarms leading that, but 15.2 is probably where Core Scientific have been most of the year in terms of where they'll finish. Not in the top half this year, but like I say, they've been focusing on getting these sites ready for HPC. And if you think about having to move out of sites like we were at the Denton facility, which is a self-mining site, that's now a HPC site. There was 150 megawatts of mining there. So those miners have been moved from there. That site's been flattened and refurbished for HPC. So there'll be delays in moving those miners around different sites there. So that will impact on, operational hash rate for the month there. So they only put out one hash rate, which is their total hash rate, 19.1. But if they have their operational, I'm assuming it will be a lot lower than that. And therefore, their mining per exahash of operational hash rate will be close to their peer group. So again, we'll try and get Adam to sort of like maybe start including operational hash rate in future updates, and that'll help us. But yeah, overall a good update. We know where they're going. We'll get more information later on the podcast with Adam.
Yeah, most definitely. We've been watching that Core Scientific HODL tracker. It sounds, you're right, in the neighborhood of about 27 million. We'll confirm that with Adam, and we'll try and get the HODL and operational updates added to their production reports each month. So, Anthony, very interesting. We talk about HODL. Just in the time this call's been going, Bitcoin is now over $102,000 US. So the next company we're going to talk about, Riot, they've got nearly 18,000 Bitcoin on balance sheet. Just in the time we've been talking, they've made nearly $17.7 million in their HODL appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Bitcoin price rise to 108,000, and we're sure it will probably exceed 108,000. This build up now to the inauguration, and so on and so forth. I was listening to CNBC this morning, and they had people on there that weren't also, I wouldn't say they were, overly positive about Bitcoin, but they were all indicating this is going a lot higher this year. So we just need to get those presenters on CNBC who've listened to this story for 4 years to start actually believing the story now, because it's constantly getting taught to them every day.
No, we need to get on CNBC, Anthony. We're going to go on CNBC and talk about it soon.
We definitely need to, because there's a few on there that need to be educated, and we're the right people to do it. But yeah, let's get back to Riot in terms of their operational update. So they mined 516 Bitcoin. That's an improvement what they did in the month of November. In terms of receiving revenue for power sales and for curtailing energy, they received $1 million, which is equivalent just under another 11 Bitcoin for that there. They improved their operational hash rate again by nearly 10% during the month of December. So it's now up to 27.4. Their total installed hash rate also increased again, probably by about 6-7%. That's up to 31.5. Now, remember, Riot had a target of about 34.9 by the end of the year, so they haven't reached that target. Probably a little bit disappointing themselves. But what they've said in their update is they have managed to now install all the mining machines in that final building at Corsicana. And basically, they're doing a review before they switch on to make sure that everything's working correctly there, and doing a little bit of due diligence to make sure that things are all in line before they go fully operational on that last building. We should expect that last building to increase their capacity in the month of January. In terms of fleet efficiency, that's come down as well now, 21.9, so getting closer to that 20 figure where we've seen 2 or 3 miners get beneath that. And in terms of their HODL, you're quite right. I mean, it's increased significantly. They did make a big purchase of Bitcoin during the month of December when they were successful with their convertible note. Their HODL at the moment stands now at 17,722 as at the 31st of December. And that has a valuation, as at the 31st of December, of $1.65 billion. Now, If you take the end of December to where we are today, that's another close to another $10,000 per Bitcoin. So you could add on another $170 million to that HODL value in the space of the last 5 or 6 days. So great update from Riot in terms of getting close to where they need to be. I mean, we were talking last year and probably the first half of this year. The production was the issue. They seem to have drawn a line under that there. In terms of what they mine per exahash, they're second to Bitfarms at the moment, so they were better than Wolf, they were better than CleanSpark, better than Core Scientific. That's a step in the right direction. It was usually Riot were holding up the bottom of the table, finding real challenge to get the hash rate going at their Rockdale facility. Looks like they're turning a corner there, but we want to see that hash rate grow in January to their target, which they should have had by the end of December.
Well, just keep in mind, Anthony, they own 20% of Bitfarms, so we have to add their hash rate into that target as well. They're almost there. No, in all seriousness, you guys, yeah, a little bit short of that total plugged in goal, but I would rather slow and steady. We don't need any issues at that facility now that it's finally getting towards completion. And for me, the big tail of the tape is, yeah, the operational hash rate increases and that HODL value that just continues to grow and grow. So, Anthony, as we say, we've got Adam coming up shortly here, you guys. Feel free to check into that video as well. Should be some great insight into the Q1 2025 strategy with CoreWeave. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let us know what you think of these production reports, how you're feeling about the miners, and of course, get your Miner Madness 2.0 selections in on the pinned tweet Power Mining Analysis X account or on one of our 2 Miner Madness 2.0 entry YouTube videos. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here in an hour's time.